Alright, this is a 2005 Jeep Grand Cherokee. I'm going to show you how to remove and replace the rack and pinion system for the steering. Alright, so the first thing, obviously, you're going to take your tires off, get it jacked up, and I did this repair last night, so I'm just going to show you step by step how to do it. Go ahead, pop your hood, take your cap off for your power steering fluid, so it's going to enable the fluid to drain out. Now, I've got the tires taken off, okay? This isn't near as bad as it sounds, so let me roll under there. Show you what to do. Okay. This whole system is your rack and pinion system. Okay. Now I do have this cover taken off. There's a dust cover that's mounted underneath your oil pan. You'll take it off. So, to get this off, okay, right here where the light's shining, okay, right there, that's your steering arm. So you're going to take that bolt loose. The head is on the right side. Take it loose and make sure you secure your steering wheel. Don't let your steering wheel turn at all. So I put a ratchet strap on the bottom of my steering wheel around my brake pedal so the wheel will not move, because you don't want it turning once you take this off. So you'll loosen that bolt, take the bolt all the way out, pull that off, okay? And then around here, if you can see, these two, not these lines right here, those stay pre-connected. But you have two lines here. That's your high pressure and low pressure. All right, you're gonna take those out. I can't remember the socket size, but right here, this plastic piece, if I can show you better, this little plastic piece for when you change your oil, and it's made to just run down and drip out into your pan. All right, I took that off because it makes it easier. So you have one bolt here, and your other bolt right here, and then this whole plastic piece you should be able to pry out. Just twist it and turn it a couple different ways and it'll come out the front. It will not come out the back here where the oil pan is, so you got to take it out the front. That makes it way easier to take these lines loose, okay? Once you get those lines loose, there's going to be a lot of fluid coming out. Just stick you a big pan under here and catch it all. Alright, so now that that's loose, the only thing that holds this rack and pinion system to your body are these two bolts right here. Okay, one on each side. So go ahead, you'll take those, before you take those loose, of course, here, you have to take these ball joints off. Okay, best way to get the ball joint off. Alright, you're going to go ahead and take that nut off right here, and then you're going to hit with a hammer, probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 good pops with a hammer, a heavy hammer, and that ball joint's just going to pop right out. Do the same on both sides, and then this whole steering knuckle is going to be loose. So after those are loose, if you want, you can go ahead and just a little ahead of myself, but if you want to go ahead and get the rest of the fluid out of this whole system, before you take this knuckle off, okay, you're going to turn the wheel back and forth. Now these lines are already going to be off, but you're going to turn the knuckle back and forth, and all that fluid's going to come out into your pan. It just makes for less of a mess when you're actually trying to get this whole piece out. So after all the fluid's out, of course, then you'll take this off, okay? And then you'll take these bolts out, and that's going to make the whole rack and pinion system, it's going to take it loose from the body. So the best way to get it out, okay, this is my driver's side, passenger side. Well, once it's loose, you're going to kind of rotate it and work it, push the whole thing towards the passenger door, okay? And it's going to bring this whole tie rod, this inner tie rod, it's going to bring this whole assembly to your right towards the passenger. And then you're just basically going to have to give yourself enough room. You'll be able to slide this end out, and this end will drop down, and then just work it out. It'll come out basically underneath the Jeep, and it'll be free. It's really not hard to get out at all. Just rotate it a couple times back and forth, and it'll be free. Now when you go to put the new one back in, of course you'll bring the passenger side and you'll slide it. Okay, you'll slide it straight up through here, out towards the tire, and push it far enough to where you can pick this driver's side up and slide it in there. Once you slide it in there, go ahead and put these two bolts in. Don't tighten them, just put it in there so it holds the body of the rack and pinion system. Once you got that done, the next thing I did was I went ahead and attached my two lines. Okay, you got to do one at a time or you won't be able to get a wrench in there to tighten them. So I did the top one first. Okay, go ahead and tighten it with a wrench, and then I go ahead and do the bottom one. Tighten it up, make sure they're nice and snug so you don't have any leaks. After that's done, your steering wheel, of course, is ratchet strapped tight and it stayed straight, hopefully. So this can only go on one way. So as long as your wheel was ratcheted tight or in the locked position, if your Jeep steering wheel locks, then it'll be good. Go ahead and slide it back on. It's easy to slide on with one hand. Slide that bolt, thread it back in, and tighten it down. So you've got that tight. Your high pressure and low pressure line's tight. Next thing I did, I tightened my body bolts right here with my impact. Once that's done, you're done under here, besides putting this little plastic cover back on. And you can actually leave it off if you want to. It just helps for a little better cleanup when you change your oil. But you can leave it off, whichever you prefer. Now, here's the key part that I need to mention to you. When you take off this ball joint, okay, you need to count the threads at the lock nut. Okay, for me, it was 7 threads visible on the driver's side and 6 threads visible on the passenger side. Make sure you write it down somewhere so you do not forget that, because you're going to have to get an alignment done after you do this, but it'll make it very close to where it was. So I had 7 threads, so I went ahead and I broke that lock nut loose. Okay, because this, when you order your rack and pinion system, it's going to come complete with these inner tie rods, but not this outer ball joint. So you're going to use this off of your old unit. So you'll break that loose after you count the threads, and then you're gonna, this is obviously loose, you hit it with a hammer, popped out the ball joint, and now you're gonna count the rotations it takes to get this off. So you're gonna turn it counterclockwise, okay? And mine was 25 full turns until I was able to get this unthreaded and take it off. So I wrote down on a piece of paper, my 7 threads visible here, 25 turns to remove this. I did the same on the other side. And you want to put it back on this new rack and pinion the same. So you'll go ahead and screw that lock nut back on, okay, till you have how many ever threads you counted visible. And then I screwed on this ball joint and I counted my turns, and it lined up exactly 25 turns back on. Once you got that done, tighten that lock nut down really tight. Then you'll slide it back in the knuckle, and of course put the nut back on it, tighten it down. And you'll put this knuckle on after you've installed your new rack and pinion. This is last. This is the last part of what you do. So after that's done, of course, when you're putting everything back together, you're going to want to double check all your nuts and bolts, make sure they're tight. And you can put your dustpan back on if you want to. Some people leave it off. But like I said, once all's said and done, you're going to put your dustpan back on and put your oil drip, a little plastic cover back on. And you want to make sure right here, okay, where your power steering reservoir is, it's going to be empty because you turned your wheel and all the fluid came out of those holes for your high pressure and low pressure lines you disconnected. You're going to go ahead and top it off.